Let's talk about something pretty fundamental, a huge misunderstanding most of us have about our own brains. We tend to think it's on our side, our co-pilot, working towards our goals. But here's the thing, it really couldn't care less about your ambitions.
You know that feeling, right? You set a big goal, you're all fired up and motivated, and then, boom! Suddenly, you're procrastinating, you're making up excuses, you're doing literally everything except the one thing you said you were going to do. It really feels like you're fighting yourself.
Well, it turns out that's because you are fighting yourself. There's a very real biological conflict happening inside your head between what you consciously want and what your brain is programmed to do. It's this quiet little war that happens every single day, and honestly, most of us don't even know what's going on.
So, let's dive right into what this conflict is all about. The main thing you've got to understand is that every time you try to change your life, start a new business, learn an instrument, get in shape, your brain doesn't see growth, it sees a threat.
See, your brain's prime directive, its number one job, isn't to make you happy or successful. Nope. Its only job is to keep you alive. And to do that, it absolutely craves what is comfortable and predictable. Anything new, anything unfamiliar is automatically flagged as a potential danger because it's an unknown. So your brain ends up equating comfort with safety, even when that comfort is what's holding you back. So why this obsession with the familiar? It's not because your brain is lazy, not really. It all comes down to energy. Let's get into the simple economics of why your brain works this way.
And this is where that mismatch just becomes crystal clear. On one side, you've got your goals: growth, new experiences, long-term success. But on the other side, you have your brain's goals: safety, predictability, and saving energy right this second. These two sets of goals, they are fundamentally in opposition to each other.
And this is the absolute key takeaway. Your brain isn't lazy, it's just incredibly economical. It's the most efficient device in the known universe. It's constantly choosing the path of least resistance because doing something new is metabolically expensive. Sticking to the same old habits, that barely costs any energy. So it's always going to pick the option that saves fuel now, even if that choice costs you your dreams in the long run.
Okay, so if your brain is this super efficient, energy-saving machine, how does it actually stop you? Well, it uses this very subtle playbook of tactics to pull you right back to what it knows. This is the real mechanics of self-sabotage. Here it is, the brain's 4-step playbook to keep you cozy. First, it'll distract you. All of a sudden, cleaning out your email feels way more important than working on that big project. Second, it'll rationalize, cooking up perfectly logical-sounding excuses for why you should wait. Third, it distorts risk, making any change seem absolutely terrifying. And finally, it rewards you for staying put.
And just think about that distortion in action for a second. Quitting a job you hate feels like this massive, terrifying risk, right? But staying in that same miserable job for another 10 years? For some reason, that feels safe, responsible even. Your brain is playing a trick on you, framing action as reckless and inaction as secure.
So how does it make doing nothing feel so good? Simple. It rewards you. Your brain gives you these little hits of dopamine for doing easy, predictable things, like scrolling on your phone or sticking to your old routines. These literal rewards train you to associate comfort with pleasure, until eventually, real effort starts to feel genuinely painful. Comfort literally becomes an addiction.
Now here's the most dangerous part of this whole process. It's completely invisible. It doesn't feel like fear or self-sabotage when it's happening. It disguises itself as your own rational, logical thinking. It sounds just like common sense.
This is what it sounds like inside your own head. When you think, now just isn't the right time, what your brain is really doing is avoiding the unfamiliar. When you think, I just need to prepare a little more, it's really just seeking the safety of predictability. And the most insidious one of all, when you think, well, this is just how life is, that's your brain turning a temporary limitation into your permanent identity.
So, how in the world do we break free from this cycle? Well, the answer isn't what you probably think. It's not about finding more motivation. Motivation is just an emotion. It's a spike. But your brain runs on prediction and efficiency. The second things get hard, motivation vanishes. We need a totally different strategy.
The real key is to completely reframe what the feeling of discomfort actually means. We are trained to see it as a stop sign, a signal that something's wrong. But what if it's not? What if that feeling of friction, of uncertainty, is actually a compass, pointing you in the exact direction you need to go for growth?
You see, the solution isn't to fight your brain with more willpower. That's a losing battle. It's about developing the awareness to see what your brain is up to. You can't stop it from preferring comfort, but with awareness, you can stop obeying it blindly.
And this is what that awareness looks like in practice. You learn to just observe your own excuses without buying into them. You start to see friction not as a problem, but as the price of admission for growth. You consciously start choosing the long-term goal over the short-term relief of just giving up. And you finally realize that comfort isn't a prison you're stuck in, it's just a choice you've been making over and over again.
The moment you really get this dynamic, everything changes. Your brain's default setting is always going to be to seek safety and comfort. It's just doing its job. But now you know its playbook. So the only real question left is, what will you choose?